Hi, today we're going to learn about dosages based on the size of the patient. So sometimes dosages aren't given like just take 2 Advil or take 2 Aleve or take a certain amount of drugs. It has to depend on the patient's body weight. So it goes by the kilogram of what they weigh. In order to calculate that, we're still going to think about dose times strength. If you see here, people are shaped differently. That's pretty cool. So we're going to do the size of the patient times the order, and that's going to be the dose that you're going to give. So we have been just doing dose times strength, dose times strength. However, now there's a dose times weight times strength because the dose is according to per kilogram. So if we look at this, it says dosages based on body weight. Oops, don't want to move that. The order is, oh no, what happened? Here we go. The order is dilantin, 15 milligrams per kilogram for the loading dose by mouth, then 300 milligrams per day for the loading dose. Well, all we want to know is for the loading dose, how many capsules of this drug would you administer for a patient who weighs 80 kilograms? So let's talk about what a loading dose is. A loading dose is when you are taking medication and you take a certain amount of drugs per dose, and you don't have anything in your body, in your system to start it with, then your body has to have a certain level for that dose to start being activated. So the loading dose is what they need before that starts. So it says the loading dose is, all they want is for the loading dose. If it just asks how much would you give for the patient, it doesn't matter how much they weigh because every day that patient's going to get 300 milligrams per day. But for the loading dose, you have to calculate based on the body weight, which is 15 milligrams per kilogram. So the dose is 15 milligrams per kilogram. But the dose also includes a kilogram in here. So we have to look to see how much the person weighs, and we're lucky because they gave the weight in kilograms, so times 80 kilograms. And we don't want to just do that separate and then times it by the strength. We want to do everything together. So there's the dose because of rounding errors, and times your strength. And your strength says that it is 100 milligrams per capsule. 100 milligrams per capsule. Now notice I put milligrams on the bottom because it's going to cancel with milligrams on top here. So those will cancel. My kilograms will cancel, and you're left with capsules. So when you do the math, you do 15 times 80 divided by 100. So 15 times 80 is 1200 divided by 100. So you're going to tell that person to take 12 capsules. However, that's a lot. I don't think anybody takes 12 capsules of anything, but you might want to look for a stronger strength so that you can give less for the loading dose and then give that package. But if you only had this on hand, you would have them to take 12. It's an insane amount. The order is fibromycin, 2 milligrams per pound daily by mouth for 10 days. Read the label and determine how many milliliters of this drug you would administer for a patient who weighs 120 pounds. I want you to pause the video and figure out how to do this, and then come back and see if you've done it correctly. So
why'd you do it in pounds?
Well, hold on, I'm still on record.
Huh?
I'm still on record. So, so here we have 2 milligrams per pound daily. So you have your dose times your weight times your strength. So your dose is 2 milligrams per pound. And then because it's in pounds, you have to do it by the weight in pounds. And it's great because they gave you the weight in pounds. And then the strength. The strength is 25 milligrams per 5 milliliters. So when I cancel out my milligrams, cancel out my pounds, I can now do my calculation. So 2 times 120 times 5 is 1200. Same amount, huh? 1200 divided by 25 will be 48 milliliters. And the last one we're going to do, nope, there's a couple more. All right. The order is Biaxin, 7.5 milligram per kilogram per day, by mouth every 12 hours. Read the drug label and determine how many milliliters of this drug you would administer to a patient who weighs 180 pounds. So again, pause the video, see what you got, and come back and compare. Okay, so we have our dose times our strength. And the dose is 7.5 milligram per kilogram per day. When you see this in the 3 increments there, we're going to put milligram on top and kilogram per day on bottom. So the dose is 7.5 milligrams per kilogram day. It says every 12 hours. So that means you're taking it 2 times a day. So we're going to take 1 day is 2 doses. You can either do the math like that, or you can divide it in half right there and start with the dose, because you want your administration by dose. Now the days cancel. So now you'll have 7.5 milligram per kilogram for 2 doses. So you have to get rid of your kilogram, and you notice that they put the weight in pounds. So you have to convert it into kilograms. So here, you know that there are 1 kilogram is 2.2 pounds. And then times 180 pounds. Now, if you would finish it, it would be per dose, milligram per dose. However, you wanted to know how many milliliters per dose. So you're going to keep going. I ran out of room. So I'm going to say times. My milligram has to be on bottom, but so that's all your dose. And your strength is 250 milligrams for 5 milliliters. So when you cancel your milligrams, now if you would finish your answer, it will be how many milliliters per dose, because you have milliliters on top and you have doses on bottom. So I'm going to do 7.5 times 180 and get 1350 divided by 250 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2.2 times 250 will give me 1100. So I have 1350 divided by 1100, and I have 1.227, so 1.2 milliliters per dose. Okay, the prescriber ordered Biaxin oral suspension 15 milligram per kilogram per day by mouth, divided into 2 equal doses. Read the label and calculate how many milliliters of this macrolide antibiotic a child who weighs 30 kilograms will receive. I don't know what happened there. Oh, I threw up the label there. All right, so you're going to do dose times strength again. And your dose is 15 milligrams per kilogram per day. And I want it by the dose though. So then if you read further, it says in 2 equal doses. So if I cut that in half, let me show you a different way to do it. If I cut that in half in the beginning, then I would have 7.5 milligrams per kilogram. And then that's per dose, so I'm good. But since it's per kilogram, I have to have a body weight associated with it. So I look back up for the weight. When I look up for the weight, they give it to me in kilograms, so I'm lucky, 30 kilograms. And that takes away the kilograms. So now for this person, they have 7.5 times 30 per dose, milligrams. But I need it in milliliters, so I'm going to look for the strength. And the strength is 125 milligrams for 5 milliliters. So if I cancel out my units, then I'm left with milliliters per dose. And then I can be done. So 7.5 times 30 times 5 is 1125 divided by 125. And you get 9. Now, dosages based on body weight and safe dose ranges. So the recommended dose range is found in the package insert, the hospital library, the drug guidebooks. They're based on the United States Pharmacopoeia, physician's desk references, or the manufacturer's website. So safe dose ranges are important for drugs because every drug has one, and there's a certain amount that you cannot exceed. So for it to be not okay. So the prescriber ordered Dilantin, which is 100 milligram oral suspension by mouth daily. Let's change that. Oral. The recommended daily maintenance dosage is 4 to 8 milligram per kilogram per day. Is the ordered dose safe for a child who weighs 30 kilograms? So if you just want to decide if it's safe or not, then you look at the safe dose range, which is in milligram per kilogram per day, and you look at what the doctor ordered for the patient. So this one, we're going to put it into milligram per kilogram per day is our label. So between 4 milligram per kilogram per day and 8 milligram per kilogram per day. Your patient weighs 30 kilograms. So there's a high and there's a low. The lowest amount you can give your patient is 4 times 30, which is 120 milligrams per day. And the highest you can give your patient is 8 times 30, which is 240 milligrams per day. So your patient can only have between 100 and 240 milligram per day because they weigh 30 kilograms. If you have a different patient, you have to do a different range. So if we look at to see what the doctor ordered, they ordered 100 milligrams by mouth daily. So 100 milligrams would be too low of a dose. So if it's too low, contact the doctor. The doctor may still want you to give that, but you have to contact the doctor because it's too low for it to be effective. So the prescriber ordered gentamicin, 60 milligrams intramuscularly every 8 hours for a child who weighs 60 pounds. The strength of the vial is 80 milligrams per 2 milliliters. The recommended dosage is 6 to 7.5 milligram per kilogram per day in 3 divided doses. Is the recommended dosage safe? And if so, how many milliliters would you administer? So all I want to know right now is the recommendation safe? So I have my lowest that I can give my patient is 6 milligram per kilogram per day. And the highest I can give my patient is 7.5 milligrams per kilogram per day. So depending on this patient, let's see how much I can give the patient. It's in per day. So 6 milligrams per kilogram per day, and the patient weighs 60 pounds. So it's a little bit more difficult because you have to put pounds into kilograms. So for every 1 kilogram, it's 2.2 pounds. And then the patient's weight is 60 pounds. Your pounds cancel, your kilograms cancel, so you know you put everything in there correctly, and you'll see how many milligrams per day this patient can have. So 6 times 60 divided by 2.2 gives you 163, can't read a calculator, 0.6 milligrams per day. Be careful because make sure this is per day, so you still want your answer to be in per day. And then it's 7.5 times 60 divided by 2.2, and it's 204.5 milligrams per day. So to be safe, in the safe range for this drug for this patient, your doctor has to prescribe between 163 and 204 milligrams per day. So let's write that. So 163 to 204 milligrams per day. And now let's see what the doctor's order was to see if it was safe. It says 60 milligrams Q8H, so every 8 hours. So 60 milligrams Q8H would be times 3 times a day. So 60 times 3 is 180 milligrams per day. So this is safe. So 180 fits in between 263 and 204. 163 and 204. So it is safe because it fits within the range. If it was under the range, you would want to contact the doctor because it may not be enough. If it's over the range, you want to contact the doctor because it may be way too much. And then it says, if so, how many milliliters would you administer? You're going to take the original dose, not the whole thing per day, but just the dose, and do dose times strength. So you're only going to administer 1 dose right now. So your dose times strength. Your dose is 60 milligrams, and your strength was given as 80 milligrams for 2 milliliters. So 80 milligrams for 2 milliliters. So you do 60 times 2, which is 120, divided by 80, and you get 1.5 milliliters. So if your strength was too low or too high, you would not administer anything until you consult the doctor. So if it was not safe, your answer for how much would you administer would be 0, like none. I wouldn't administer any. I would contact the doctor. So try this one. Pause the video, read this, pause it, try it, and then come back on. Let's see if you got it. The order for an adult who has adrenal insufficiency is that sodium phosphate 5 milligrams intramuscularly every 12 hours. The patient weighs 100 kilograms. Read the label and determine if this order is safe, provided that the recommended daily dosage is 0.03 to 0.15 milligrams per kilogram. If it is safe, how many milliliters would you administer? So the dosages here. So I'm going to get 0.03 is my low milligrams per kilogram. And my high is 0.15 milligrams per kilogram. I'm going to multiply it by the amount of kilograms my patient weighs, because I want to know for this patient only, it's 100 kilograms. So my kilograms cancel, and I do the math and I get 3 milligrams. And my kilograms cancel again, I get 15 milligrams. So if I look, it says the daily dosage is safe here. So that's per day. So my patient can have 3 to 15 milligrams. Ooh, what happened? 3 to 15 milligrams per day is safe. So if I look up here, I see that the doctor ordered 5 milligrams intramuscularly every 12 hours. So the doctor's order is 5 milligrams every 12 hours, which would be times 2 times a day. So 10 milligrams per day. And 10 milligrams per day is safe because it fits in between this 3 and 15. So since it is safe, I have to figure out how much I'm going to administer. So I say dose times strength. And my dose then, I'm not going to go by the daily dose. I'm going to go by what the doctor's administering right now, is 5 milligrams for 1 dose times the strength. And if I look at the label, my strength is 20 milligrams for 5 milliliters. So 20 milligrams for 5 milliliters. And I flipped it so that my milligrams will cancel. And I can do 5 times 5 divided by 20. And I get 1.25. Since you're administering it intramuscularly, it's going to be rounded to the nearest tenth, because your syringes go up by tenths if it's over 1 milliliter. So it's 1.3 milliliters. And remember, if it wasn't safe, if they prescribed something under those or over those, you would contact the doctor and you would administer nothing. Awesome. So good luck on your homework. Woohoo. Let's see. Stop recording.